Hey, Doug Giles here, Warriors and Wildmen podcast. Rich, what's shaking, big dog?
What's happening, Doug? Let's do this thing.
Just kicking around, man. Being Doug, you being Rich, and we're about to take some of the Tinker Pots. If you're listening today and you've somehow tumbled onto the Warrior and Wildmen podcast, we're going to take you to task, just like we told you before in a couple of earlier episodes. There will be blood here. Hey, check this out. We're going to our hot topic today is guys. And you definitely might ought to put on a cup for this one. If you're not a provider for your household, then you've clearly been poorly raised. You're definitely listening to some stuff that has zero to do with masculinity. But before we get into this, Rich, and this topic of being a provider, which every dude should be, call this more proof that you and I are right on pretty much every subject that we're talking about in regards to
every subject.
Exactly. In regards to Generation Wussy, this is some disturbing bunkum via the BBC. Are you familiar with the British Broadcasting Corporation?
Unfortunately, I am.
Check this out. 22-year-old college dandy. Have you heard of this guy? His name's George Fellows. You familiar with George?
Negative.
Well, he claims he gets his period every month. Yeah.
I did hear about that.
Yeah. Well, it's this ain't a lie. It's not fake news. Rich named George, who sports an actual penis, unashamedly spewed that sputum to the BBC. According to the BBC, Fellows says he's been riding the crimson wave without bleeding for the last couple of years now, Rich. And so this is too good. So how did Georgie boy get this melody? Well, you inquiring mind you, I'm glad you asked. Jorge, Rich, this is beautiful. Rich, this is so rich. He says this affliction arose because he's so close to his best friend and flatmate, Amber May Ellis, that he gets cramps when she comes on each month. I know you're speechless. You can't make this crap up.
Nope, I'm trying to think of what I can say that's allowed to be on our podcast because I am about to lose my freaking mind.
Yeah, we're not beholden to the FCC here, so fire away, man. Numbnuts continues. Rich said, I think it's a psychological thing because we're so close, we feel the same emotions. And he said, if you're hanging out with someone and you're really, really close, I think it's only natural that your hormones would sync up like clockwork every month. Cried Georgie. Wait, I'm not finished. Fellows further stated, he goes, I get pain in my lower abdomen and in the groin area. I get super moody, really erratic.
He's a fag. I don't even want to hear it. I don't care. It doesn't. That's too much.
No, it's too much, but it gets better. He gets angry with most of his friends, and he said, I'm not really one for a cry, but during that time of the month, I'm an emotional wreck.
I would agree with that last statement. He is an emotional wreck. I can't, Doug, I literally am speechless. I don't even know.
Bro, I'm not finished. Wait, it gets better.
It can't get better.
Now check this out. Fellows, he's even bold enough to confess that he's taken sick days off because of his imaginary period. Do you feel like you've been defiled, Rich, or something like that? Just by hearing this report?
I'm offended. I'm disgusted as a man, as a person. I can't. That's the lame. I could tell you, being raised by my dad, who's a former Marine, Vietnam vet.
What's his name?
His name's Dick.
So what would Dick think of old Georgie boy if he was to hear that scat come tumbling off that British clown's tongue?
My dad used to say those famous things like, "You want to cry? I'll give you something to cry about." And my dad wasn't threatening. He brought the thunder.
Right.
If I would have told him, hey, Dad, I think I'm having my period, my dad would have kicked me in the nuts so fast he would have said, does that feel like a period or do those feel like nuts? My dad will wreck your world for that. And you know what? I'm thankful that he didn't let me grow up to be somebody that thinks it's okay to, hey, we can have emotions. You can't have periods. Get the hell out of here with that. I can't do it. Talk about it.
So do you think like you need to watch like Lion King movie to, wash your brain out, maybe a Clint Eastwood flick, smoke a cigar while we do the rest of the podcast, drink a dirty martini to cleanse the soul? What do you think you need?
I think I need to do all of those while riding my motorcycle at 100 miles an hour.
Yeah. Now, as gross as the aforementioned is, herewith, and we're going to start pounding down the road with these three bad boys. I think they're more scary, even though that stuff that I just rattled through about Mr. Fellows or Ms. Fellows is pretty terrifying. But to me, these are more scary and substantive signs that a dude is endangered of the evils of this thing that I like to call emasculation. So, like I said, dear listener, if you're more empathetic with the plight of a guy like Fellows, then this one's going to be a jagged little pill, as Alanis Morissette said. It's going to be tough to swallow. Here's one of the first signs, Rich, and I know this is a bee in your bonnet, and you like to go there and rattle the cages of the effeminate males, that they've been completely pussified, is number one, if you're not a provider, especially if you're in your early 20s, and if you're not paying for most, if not all of your crap, then you know what? Man, you have missed the man train.
Get a freaking job. The Bible says that in a lot of nicer ways than that. Actually,
Right.
Not in nicer ways.
Kind of the Greek,
The Bible
right?
says that a lot. You need to get a freaking job.
Now, there's a lot of people that are in their 20s that you probably just hurt their feelings, man, you know?
I'd like to hurt more than their feelings. You know what? It's funny because people say, I met this guy. There's one of my voices, Doug. It came.
Right. It always comes out.
I met this guy, and
Can't help it.
And I love him. And I'll say, oh, great. Where does he work? Well, he doesn't have a job, but we love each other. And I always tell him this, Doug, love doesn't pay the bills. And if it does, it's illegal.
Yeah, I told that to this one guy, and he goes, well, her daddy loves her. That love pays the bills. Yeah.
It's a different segment.
Now, I don't know how old you were when you got your first job. 9 years old. My brother's throwing papers. I don't know what he paid me per, route, per trip, per day. And I think I only did it on the weekends. I can't remember again because the heavy marijuana usage that I did between the ages of 13 and 21. But, 9 years old, I'm in there rolling papers, handing him to him while he's driving his Chevelle, throwing it up over the hood of his car. Probably landed in dog crap at each and every house we went to. 9 years old, working.
Yep.
I wasn't sheltered. I wasn't in some, protective room wearing knee pads and elbow pads and some kind of dork helmet on with my mother slathering me down constantly with antibacterial gel. Out there working when 10, 11, 12, get our butt behind a lawnmower, go door to door, knocking, pushing that thing down the dirty streets of West Texas, looking for work. To me, that's bizarre nowadays to see that kind of crap expected or lauded of young people.
You know what? When I was 10 years old on my vacations to visit my aunt in Las Vegas, they owned a drugstore. And my job, I'm sure there's laws against this now, but my job was running the cash register in the front. At 10 years old, I literally had to use a ladder to get cigarettes for people, right? I ran the cash register.
Yes.
They wouldn't let me do the thing that figured out the change. They're
Right.
like, no, you're going to count it back. You're going to learn math.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. I never thought that job sucked. I thought it was the awesomest thing ever. I love doing it. I look forward to going there every summer. Then I got a paper route when I was a young teenager. Then I worked as a busboy at a restaurant, did that.
Right.
Then I worked at a wrecking yard, like an auto wrecking yard, cleaning a wrecking yard. In the summertime in Yuma, Arizona, that's crazy. But I got paid cash. I worked hard. When I graduated high school, I was 17. I wasn't going to go to college, so I decided I got to get a job. I was a dishwasher, busting my butt washing dishes. When I turned 18, I started working for a contractor testing weapons. I worked at that job from the time I was 18 till I was 31 when I quit that job to go into ministry. I had a job from the time I was 16 years old. I didn't never not have a job, like not even for a day, not for a minute. Didn't happen.
It's exactly how our whole generation was raised. I mean, I remember one summer, me and my brother were laying around the couch after school ended and Alice Cooper school's out for summer, and we're sitting there lazing around one afternoon, and man, she gave us a stink eye. She said, you're not going to be doing this all summer long. You better get your butt out there and find a job.
Yeah.
Started laying tile, doing landscaping, doing anything. You know what? This thing called greenbacks, I'm talking about drachmas, money started landing in the bank account. And because we worked, we had these cool things called motocross bikes, BMX bikes, had money to take our hot girlfriends out with. And you felt like you accomplished something, felt like you're adding to the equation. But nowadays, it doesn't parlay into the postmodern bizarro land of raising kids.
Well, because our culture started looking at work as a burden. Listen to this verse. This is an awesome verse from Proverbs chapter 12, and it says this. This is awesome. The diligent find freedom in their work. The lazy are oppressed by work. Man, when I got a job, I was pumped. I was happy. I didn't complain about my job. Hey, man, if you're diligent, you're a hard worker, you get a job, it frees you to do what? Do things, go places, have things, help other people. If you see work as an oppression, you're lazy. Your culture, and this culture celebrates laziness. I'll tell you what, before we get all into where we're going with this is one thing that just pisses me off. I want to talk about it right now.
Do it.
Anybody who stays up all night, unless you work night shift, you are a piece of crap, lazy, excuse-making dog. There's one reason why people stay up all night and then sleep all day. It's because all the productive people who are working, except for the exceptional people who have their own businesses, do their own thing. I'm not talking about these very small percentage of people. I'm talking about the normal people. If you stay up all night and you do nothing and you hang out with losers and you sleep all day, the reason you do that is because all the people who work hard and are productive, they're awake in the daytime. If they see you, they expect you to do something. You stay up at night because the rest of the freaking losers are awake. Nobody's going to go, hey, man, are you going to get up and go look for a job? Not at 3 a.m. I'm going to smoke weed and play a video game and lay on the freaking couch with the rest of the losers. That's culture. You surround yourself with lazy people. And our generation is like that. They want to sit around playing video games at 3 o'clock in the morning, and then they say they're tired. Well, yeah, you're tired. You're a sluggard.
Yeah. And here's another thing, bringing up Proverbs and stuff, is old Solomon, who drafted that book that's sewn into the middle of that library called the Bible. He makes it pretty clear, man, that if you're lazy, that you're unrighteous, and that's an abomination, like smoke in God's eyes. And yeah, like you said, so articulately, Rich, what'd you call him?
Sluggards,
lazy piece of crap, or something like that.
Lazy pieces of crap. That's the actual.
What about when people? What about what would you say to the guy who said, my dad didn't make it to my third grade play starring me as Peter Pan, and he was trying to pay bills and keep a roof over my head.
You're a fag.
And that's the reason why I can't get a job, because my father disenabled me.
You're queer as a $3 bill.
Now I know a lot of gay guys in Miami that are industrious, hard-working dudes, and when I so it's not.
Well, know that when I say it, I'm talking about 1980s derogatory. Gay means anything I don't like. It doesn't mean that you're an actual sodomite.
Right. Gotcha. Note that. Warriors and Wildmen Radio. Hey, or podcast. That's what it is. Hey, our message is simple, man. To the young dudes coming up, the young squires, the young Turks, is that all able-bodied dudes should be bringing home the bacon. I'm talking making the flow, bringing home some Benjamins, just to be kind of BET with the young ones that are listening to us right now, talking about taking care of business.
Yep.
And in case you're not understanding what I'm getting at, the next time you and your male buddies have like a play date that entails dressing up like Beyonce and doing some karaoke, select her song, Independent Woman. And while you're getting all sassy and strutting around and snapping Z's, pay close attention to the lyrics and try to live out what Queen Bey espouses in that tripe of a song, you wussy. How's that? Oh, here's another note. For this next line, you might want to pull out your journal and write the following into your diary. Being a man, in the classic sense of the word, are you listening? Entails not being a government handout sponge or some mommy, daddy, dependent dipstick. Do you dig that, my little listener? Make some righteous cash, right? What's wrong with that, man? Feel good about yourself. Quit waiting for things to happen. Why don't you go out and make stuff happen and get off your mommy's tit, like in right now? And check this out. Being dependent, as far as I'm concerned, Rich, is the epitome of being pathetic. It's ridiculous. It's disgusting. And if that's how you live, then, man, you have completely missed the man train. And I'd even go a step further and say if the founding of the U.S. was somehow up to a person like that who's lazy and apathetic, our nation would be called the United States of Pussification, because what that person is smoking ain't the kind of moxie that our founders and our forebears had that created this marvelous union and self-governance.
if it was up to them, it wouldn't be called a nation. It wouldn't have happened.
No, it'd be this amorphous kind of bull. The Indians would have absolutely run roughshod over them.
Yep.
Right? They'd be like, "Hey, man, we want to take over your land. We want your corn." And they're like, there's an arrow right in their forehead. Hey, I got one for you, Rich. You're gonna dig this. This is red meat to you. What would you say to the ladies if they're dating some douche who can't or won't draw his wallet on a date? Have you ever gone on? Have you ever gone on a date back before you got married 3 times?
I was waiting for that.
I don't know how else to say it.
One of them didn't count.
Hey, okay, so did you ever go on a date before you got
count as an annulment?
married twice? It should. Feels like one. I never went on dates where, unless it was like a high school kind of Sadie Hawkins thing, and it was, arranged that, hey, all the girls are going to ask the guys out. And you're like, okay, I'll play along with that. I'm in for a free meal and a 6-pack. But man, nobody did that to me. No girls
I've never let a woman pay for. That's not no. That's
what about the chicks in the church and stuff? Do you teach them? Listen, is some dipstick, with a douche knot or a man bun, whatever you want to call it, if he asks you out and then you get the report, hey, how'd it go with Todd the other night? And she said, well, we went Dutch, and he was kind of broke.
They went to Holland?
Yeah.
Who paid for it?
I don't know, man. Or we split it. How's that?
Oh, okay.
Now, and you bring up a good point, because a lot of people don't know our anachronistic terminology since we're old cats and stuff. But he didn't draw his wallet, and he let her pay, and he never pays. And I got some information, and Rich, you might counter this. I doubt it. But girls, if you doubt me, then you just go ahead and marry him. But I would ask your married girlfriends beforehand who've made this mistake, is that if that guy's not drawing the wallet during the date, don't defend him. He's not a special case. He's a mooch, and he will probably never, ever, 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 never, ever change.
The other day, I was getting gas at the gas station, stand there. I look, and there's a car, and it's not an old car. It's a car that should look better than it does. They're not really taking care of it. It's a little beat up. And I noticed there's a car seat in the back seat, baby in the car seat. There's a dude laying. When I say laying, I mean laying down in the passenger seat. He's got it back. He's not being gangster. He's in a coma, right? It's all the way back. He's wearing sweatpants and a hoodie. He's got his foot up on the dash, and he's on his phone watching videos, half asleep. And I looked and thought, there's definitely a chick inside paying for the gas. She comes out, walks over there, just like, I knew it, and then she starts putting gas in the car, and he never moves. And I thought, what a piece of feces. What a slug. That guy's a non-contributing, and I'm sure that's his kid from who knows how many, I hate the term baby mamas, makes me want to slap people, how many women he has kids with, and then just rides around and lets them buy stuff, lets them pay his way. You're not a man. You're a loser, man.
Yeah.
You're a freaking scrotum.
And
I got you on the scrotum one, didn't I?
And if people think, man, you guys have derailed, you're in that hate zone and you're speaking crazy talk. There's this guy that you might be familiar with, dear listener. His name's the Apostle Paul. Have you ever heard of him?
I heard of that guy. He's
and
good.
We're not talking about the guy that was with John Lennon and George Harrison and Ringo Starr. Not that Paul, but the Apostle Paul, who preached the gospel and wanted Christ's chosen, not directly, but indirectly, apostles. He put it this way in 1 Timothy 5, verse 8 in the King Jimmy version. He said, if any means pretty inclusive, right?
It's pretty broad.
What if it's like, well, Daddy didn't show up to the play in 3rd grade, and it disenabled me, and my youth pastor who puts the gel in evangelical with his hairdo, he told me that I didn't really have to work, man, because I just need to spend a couple of more years just getting fixed and inner healed.
Now I have irritable bowel syndrome and I'm lactose intolerant.
So any would mean like anybody, right? If any
does.
provide not for his own. Now this is speaking in particular to the married people. If any provide not for his own, especially for those of his own house.
Boom.
Now check this out. Now when Rich, I know you can finish this sentence, but when we think of somebody who's apostatized, somebody who's completely, vacated the faith. What do we? What
Off
usually?
The tracks,
yeah, I mean, but what?
Like,
when we think of what sin, like them
Murder,
homosexuals,
murder,
them homosexuals, man,
murder.
people doing them crack and smoking
Adulterers.
Lucky Strike cigarettes, they've left the faith.
Yeah.
Well, Paul says, if you don't have a job and you're not providing for yourself and especially for your wife and your kids, you have denied the faith.
Yep.
Denied it. It's antithetical to what it means to be a Christian if you as a man are not providing for yourself and your family. And Paul just doesn't leave that one dangling out there that you've denied the faith, which is enough of an ass kicker for anybody, to really get slapped with. But then Paul says this, he says, you're worse than an infidel.
Yep.
Unbelievers don't do that crap.
Nope.
If you call yourself a Christian, if you say you're a believer, if you say you got resurrection life coursing through your veins and hallelujah, and you're on the front row and you're smacking a tambourine, and you're in revival mode and you're spitting out religious cliches like an over-medicated Joel Osteen, and yet you don't provide, he said you're worse than an unbeliever. Because that has zero to do with God, true Christianity, and the example that Jesus, the dragon slayer, and all the apostles and prophets and all the great saints through time immemorial have left.
Yeah,
right?
but what if, Doug, what if that guy's really nice? He's just really nice. It doesn't work, but he's really nice. What if his wife works and he decided, you know what? I'm going to stay home with the kids.
Yeah, that
she
works.
has a better job
That
then
works.
everybody says, but he's really nice.
You know what? I've seen that crap, and it's always because usually when somebody says something like that, and I'll never forget, and I'm not going to say where I was or or what year, because
We'll change the names to protect the guilty.
Yeah. So this girl told me this. I meet her and meet her husband. It's like, oh, what do you do? It's like, oh, he stays home with the kids. I've got a really good job. And I was like, well, that ain't going to work. So anyway, I bit my lip. We talked about it on the ride home, Mary Margaret and I. So I don't, to me, I got enough crap in my own life to be, do whatever. So fast forward 20 years, I see him at an event later on up in Palm Beach. And guess who's divorced? And guess who thinks her husband's a pussy? The very same couple that tried to sell me on that crap 2 decades earlier.
Yep.
I've never seen it work.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that.
No. So
They're out of order.
here's something that if, say, lady, you are married to like an indolent male Christian, or for some stupid reason you're
Translation, lazy dog.
Yeah, you're dating, some kind of guy who makes a three-toed sloth in the intensified gravity of the planet Jupiter, who's swimming in warm goo, look like a lively ferret.
He doesn't move fast.
Yeah, no. If you're around that, or you happen to have a kid, you happen to have Sluggo as a child. Here's what you ought to do. You ought to take that verse in 1 Timothy 5:8 and stick it on your refrigerator magnet, and try to wake him the what up. And here's the only exceptions as far as I'm concerned, man. And I think you'll agree with me. Maybe not, but we'll check it out. It's all good anyway. If you've had your body riddled with shrapnel during a war, okay,
All right.
we'll take care of you.
Yep.
You've earned that. You've been badly burned beyond mobility.
All right.
It's on us, man. We will gladly float your boat. You're an orphan or a widow. You're over 60.
Gotcha.
Hey, we'll take care of you. Anybody who's been truly disabled, whether by war, accident, or serious birth defect, or some kind of brutal hand of fate, then of course, you know what? We're going to take care of you.
Yep.
Especially if you've sacrificed greatly in the line of duty.
Yeah.
That's our job.
We
man.
owe you that.
That's our job. However, if that ain't you, then you need to get your ass in gear and get busy providing for yourself and your loved ones.
Yeah, because we're not talking about the people who can't. We're talking about the people who won't.
Right.
And that's the difference right there. Listen to this. These are great verses in Proverbs from the Message translation, which means it's going to be hardcore.
Do it.
It says, one day I walked by the field of an old lazybones, and then I passed the vineyard of a lout. They were overgrown with weeds, thick with thistles. All the fences were broken down. I took a long look, and I pondered what I saw. The fields preached me a sermon. Now the fields are preaching. And I listened. A nap here, a nap there, a day off here, a day off there. Sit back, take it easy. Do you know what comes next? Just this. You can look forward to a dirt poor life with poverty as your permanent house guest.
Yeah.
Another version says that poverty will come on you like
a
an
robber or
armed
something.
bandit or a robber. Like it will own you. You will be owned and controlled by poverty. And here's another thing. How the freaking hell does someone without a job go on vacation? Who posts that on Facebook? You don't have a job. Vacation from what? What you did is you traveled. You're not on vacation. You don't work. You're a loser.
Right. What are you vacating?
Yeah. Can you just vacate the planet?
It's like Kramer. He never had jobs, and he would end up, taking George's cruises, and they would rock up on Aruba with Elle McPherson, and he'd tumble into a Sports Illustrated swimsuit, supermodel suit, and then they'd come back to New York and go clubbing, and George is getting angry. Hey, a real man will figure out how to make cash.
Yep.
If your real man's not doing that, then guess what? He ain't a real man. He might be a male. He might have, the appendage, but he doesn't have the attitude that accompanies what a real man should be. And a real dude will do whatever the heck he's got to do.
That's right.
To make it through the difficulties, man. I've had jobs. I remember first started out in ministry. I'm not in quote unquote ministry anymore. But I remember working 3 jobs, doing whatever to make it happen until it started happening.
That's right.
People ask me all the time, it's like, man, tell me about your success on ClashDaily.com. I want to do it. I've got kind of a similar track I want to take. And it's like, let me tell you something. We work our butts off.
Yeah.
All the time. Now, I'm getting to a place where I wouldn't say it's on autopilot, still very hands-on in it, but we got a great team of editors, great team of tech guys. But, if you're not going to work your butt off, you can't get the kind of success that we've gotten over there. You can't get 200 million page views, throwing scraps and crap at it. So, sister, in final summation, play the man.
Check this out, Doug. Proverbs also says this. This is a problem with the culture. Lazy people consider themselves smarter than 7 wise counselors. The guy who's laying around on welfare, like, again, not someone who can't, someone who won't. Right. Laying around on welfare, getting a check, thanking Obama for his life, smoking weed, living in an apartment for free, has a free phone, whatever. He doesn't do anything.
Got a Obama phone.
He thinks, what are these guys going to work for? I'm living the dream. You know what? They're living the nightmare, man. And they think they're smart.
Right.
And they don't realize that the rest of us look at them and think, wow, you're an idiot.
I don't even know people like that. I mean, I know you pastor. I know you pastor, man. So it's, unfortunate, but...
Well, I don't pastor those people. I pester those people.
Yeah. So, in addition, and lastly, if you're married and have a family, not only should you provide money for your casa, but you should also provide time to be with them.
Yep.
That's a provision.
I suck at that, so you should probably talk.
Time to be a source of love. That's provision.
I also suck at that. You should probably talk about that one.
You might vie into this one. Source of wisdom. Provide wisdom for them.
Well, I suck at that, but I have books.
Yeah, that's all right. Provide humor. Provide trust.
Hey, I'm funny.
There you go. So we got like 1 out of 9. Provide forgiveness. Provide balance. Provide discipline. Provide vision. Wait, Rich, do you hear that? That's the whimper of a little pussy. A little weenie whining about that being a tall order to fulfill for a frail fop like them.
Hey, Doug, you remember when being a man meant being a man and it was something hard? It was like something you had to have character and have an attitude.
I did.
And I'm going to be that. And now it's too hard. So, and I don't get this. They like that guy with his wannabe period.
Right.
I'll just be like a chick. The only problem is all the things that make a woman awesome, they can't do. So you're not good man, and you're definitely not a chick. You're a dude. You can't have babies. You don't have breasts unless you sit around and just have fat man boobs, which
You could do a lot of soy.
shave 'em, all
do a
right,
lot of
but I
soy
don't know,
milk,
man.
Do a lot of soy milk, man. You get some man titties in that.
yeah, but they're not even becoming like chicks. They're becoming nothing.
Here's something for the young squire that's like, oh my God, this is scaring me. What did you imagine adulthood as a man would be like? Some extended version of the masturbatory teens you spent ensconced in a velvet jumpsuit living in mommy's house? It's time to grow a pair. Time to forever leave that little league.
Hey, grow a pair and let them dangle down.
Yeah. And be a provider of the stuff called physical goodies.
Go to work.
Warriors and Wildmen.
Get a job.
Do it now.